Hello my fellow mayors and welcome once again to Philosoph's Cities Skylines videos. In this one I'm going to be talking about the imports and the exports done by the industry in this game. There are a few things that I would like to talk about on that subject. First of all are the actual imports and exports themselves. Let me just switch this to a different color correction. Now I'm going to choose this city here to try and show you what I mean when I say the industry and the imports and exports are not as good as they should be. Why am I saying this? You see this very thin line here. It is imported goods, even though I'm exporting over 8,500 goods, which means there is some kind of a problem that influences the commercial areas to actually import, even though I cannot find one that is importing. There's no commercial building here that says that it's importing, but I'm pretty sure that this line here is a very thin line of goods that are being imported. I'm pretty sure that if you have played enough of this game and used this overlay, you probably noticed that you're actually importing goods even though when you are exporting a large amount. Now that is only part of the thing that I would like to talk about. There is also the problem with the products here in the game. You should know that there are three types of products. There are raw products, which are gained if you were to simply go here, zone industry on this ore-rich land, and you would have ore processing plants which would extract the oil, something like ore mines. That I call the raw resource, and that is not this product here. That is actually just a raw ore product, or raw or goods, or the raw ore. Then you have the buildings who are actually going to take that raw ore and make an ore product out of it. And that is what your generic industry uses. It uses the ore products and not the raw ore. Therefore, there is a type of building that you have probably seen that is an ore processing plant, even though you have specialized for ore mining and you have zoned the industry on a place where there is ore. Let's check this out so that you know what I'm talking about. We're gonna need some power here. Let's see if we can get it from over here, and we're gonna need some water. Let's say we get it from here. So watch this. I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to create a zone of industry. Okay, I will first need to make a district actually. So a small district here. It's gonna have water, it's gonna have power when I connect through here. Well, actually it's almost connected. And then I create a district in which I choose the ore industry specialization. Now when I zone the industry here and go to speed 3, you're gonna see some buildings pop up. And this place will probably need a road to go down as well. I'm going to do this for now, you'll see why later. There we go, the buildings are going up. So here we go, mining solutions, or corporation. So these are the buildings who are gonna be extracting that ore. But there is this building called the zinc produce. Oh right, I need a way to get rid of this sewage as well. Okay, that fixes that. Like I said, there are these box factories. Actually, this one is a box factory because I'm not expanding the district well enough. But now you see the point. There is this building, the Zin products. It is actually going to be a producer of ore products. But you can see here that it's not actually producing them, it is actually importing them. Which kinda doesn't make sense in my book. Why should a building that has ore processing buildings right across the street be actually importing ore products? It should be actually building them and sending them to your generic industry so that you can reduce the amount of ore products that you're importing. But for some reason, these buildings are importing the ore products and then sending their created resource to your generic buildings, and we'll see this happen right now. We're gonna wait for a truck. This one is exporting ore products. It is going to export them. Let's watch where does this truck go. You see this one is an ore truck. This one says ore products and this one says ore products, and they're both saying that they are going to export. So let's follow it and see where it's going to go. It's going to go down here in order to be able to exit off to the highway. Then it's going to go through here, and it is colored blue because it's an exporting truck, which means it's just going to go out of the map. So tell me now, why am I sending this truck out and exporting? You can even see this thin line now showing up here with all the goods next to it. There is a thin blue line saying that I've exported ore. But why would I export it if I am importing around, what's this, 600-700 that my industry needs? It doesn't make any sense, does it? I mean, if I have these buildings who are extracting the ore from the ground, you can see the ore being extracted here, and then I have these buildings which are supposed to take the ore from these buildings, produce ore products out of that raw ore, and then send it to my generic buildings who are importing that. So why is it sending it out into the region when I'm already importing so much? That is what I'm trying to tell you. You see the color shift here? It is no longer bright, it is now dark blue. This means that this building is now exporting the actual product, while before it was exporting the ore, raw ore. Because this is a level 1 produce, the one extracted from the ground, so the building is this bright blue. Then we have the darker color, which is the color that you can see on the industrial buildings that import that ore product. So this one is importing, while this one is exporting. But why would it be exporting if I already have so many generic buildings who want to take that produce from it? There is no reason that it should be doing that. And for some reason the game has this problem where it's sending the produced ore products out into the world and into the region, even though I'm already importing large amounts. And this is contrary to what the developers said. They said that if you have a supporting ore industry or oil industry that gets the raw resources from the ground, then that industry is going to send its raw produce into the processing industry, who is going to create products that are going to then be sent to the generic industry to produce goods out of. But this isn't happening. You can see here exactly that there is this problem. These buildings are importing, even though across the street there are ore mines that are getting the ore straight out of the ground. So instead of this building sending its ore to this one is actually importing it from the region, while the raw ore is being sold at the market in the region. It does not make sense, and that is something that really needs to be addressed if the taxes are to be increased further than 13%, because at the moment, if you go up to 13%, you're going to start having industry who is going to say that they cannot pay that high of a tax, and we can just sit here and watch how I have requested too much tax for them to pay. Actually, this industry seems to be happy. In hard mode city that I have, 13% was too much. It's possible that on the... No, here we go. Even on normal mode, if you go above 13%, they're gonna say taxes are too high. But they're only saying this because they are already having to pay for the imports in order to produce those goods. If the building itself is not importing, like for example this one here, you see that this one is white, it says that it's not importing goods. It is not saying that the taxes are too high for it, because by importing goods from the surrounding factories, it doesn't need to import from the region and therefore can pay higher taxes. But see, now it's importing, and pretty soon it is most likely going to say how the taxes are too high because it also has to import and pay you high taxes. And that is the problem. You see, my entire industry here is saying how the taxes are too high. Even some of the white buildings, because from time to time they will import and they want, but if they're made to pay 13% taxes while importing, they're going to say that those taxes are too high. Therefore, I believe that this thing really needs to be fixed. The actual ore production needs to send its raw items into the ore processing plants, who then need to get those resources or products into the generic industry for the generic industry to build goods out of and therefore be able to pay you higher taxes. I asked this to the developers in the developer, how is it called, on AMA. Yeah, here we go. I said that I asked them, why does the processing industry import even if there is plenty of raw items produced locally? And this is pretty much the same as if I asked why the generic industry imports even though there are processed goods inside of your city. So I will update you with that if they answer me and say what's that whole thing about. And if you think that that is a problem like I do, then you can start a topic on the forums and see if they're going to give us an answer. So that was the topic of the day. I thank you for watching and please stay tuned for more.